So what does this all say to you? Does it say, as Nigel Farage has suggested, that they're stealing the light bulb on the way out? How bad does the grifting get? That put in a position... Let's imagine what a person, a particular unnamed individual, put them in your mind's eye, is close to the centre of power in this country, regularly has the ear of a prime minister, and in the course of their duties... their public duties, understand that the date of an election is going to be on this particular date and it's going to be called on this particular date. So take it upon themselves to go and try and make some money off the back of that information. What does that say about the disregard they have for the principle of underpinning their job? They are there for public service. They are not there to enrich themselves, but it would seem as if, based on these allegations, some people take a different view. 03456060973. What does it say to you about this state, not just of this political party, but of politics perhaps more broadly? Do you think those candidates should be suspended? Keir Starmer says their feet wouldn't touch the floor. Do you believe that if it were Labour candidates, then they would be removed? Do you think these two candidates should be removed whilst these allegations are investigated? 0345 6060 973. It is absolutely it's almost like the perfect ending of the Conservative Party, isn't it? They're going down, according to one poll yesterday at least, to 53 seats, almost, extinction level stuff. And as they're falling off the edge of this cliff, some of them are found to have tried to make some money just as they're leaving. Do you know, like the last thing they've got, we're heading to the guns. Anyway, we might as well try and make 100 quid or 200 quid off the back of it. All the while rejecting the position that they were put in, the position of responsibility, the duty to serve the public, apparently. 0345 6060 973 is the number. What is I genuinely don't know the question. The answer to this question. Is it insider trading? Is it that sort of level? I guess to cheat in gambling, there needs to be no element of risk. If you absolutely 100% know something is going to happen in the future, that's presumably why you can't really get odds on the sun rising in the morning, because it's kind of a done deal. So if you know what's going to happen in the future and you bet on something happening in the future that isn't yet certain, I guess is that that's cheating, isn't it? That is cheating.
Hey Tom, how you doing?
I'm well, sir. Your thoughts on this apparent betting? Are we calling it a gate yet? Is it big enough to be a gate?
Maybe it is. Yeah. I mean, we're quick to jump when footballers do it, so maybe we are.
Quite. What are your thoughts?
But yeah, much like other callers have said, is this the first time or is it just the first time they've got caught?
Yeah.
We live in a world of data collection, and I really would implore those betting companies to look back at those individuals and others and see if there's any patterns. As I said, footballers get called up on this all the time, and they get fined and suspended accordingly. So it says a lot about that individual.
There were three well, we don't know whether they did it yet. There's an investigation. Let's wait and see. It's an allegation.
Yes,
but there was. You mentioned. It's interesting that you mentioned football because it was Ivan Toney, wasn't it? Who I think is in the England setup. Not that we know when England's playing anymore. Who cares? Who cares about the Euros? But he was suspended
17 minutes of counting.
Reece, come on. There's an audience to keep here, fella.
Sorry.
Thank you. There was some. He did some betting, didn't he, on football matches and was suspended years ago. I think there were 3 Pakistani cricketers who bet on a no ball when they were bowling, and funnily enough, bowled a no ball when they were bowling, and they were suspended too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that these individuals are pulled up on it. I always say the company I work for, look after the business, and the business will look after you. So anyone who kind of seeks to gain for themselves, and instead of the best interest for in this case, the government, they're a poison to the system and need to be removed if they have done it. The audacity and self-entitlement is it's astounding. They should spend more time working on policies and the manifesto rather than looking at the best odds, to be honest.
But also, Reece, and this is not the main point. I understand that. It's a point in the weeds, but I'm going to make it anyway because I think a lot of people are thinking it. Well, at least I thought it. Yeah. If you're going to do this, if you're going to use that information to your own financial gain, which you should not do, don't do it yourself.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how incompetent are you? If you're going to cheat the system.
it does suggest as well that have we really got the best brains looking after our country if that's what they're able to do.
So self-entitled, absolutely reject the principle of public service, and frankly, thick.
Absolutely. And all the time it's glossed over. What sort of message does that send the youth of today? I think it's good when footballers get pulled up on it and punished, because a lot of kids watch football and a lot of kids enjoy, and have those people as role models in their lives.
Yeah.
You can't really call a politician a role model when they're doing this. It doesn't really send a good message to them, does it?
Hi there, yeah. Guess talking about the Rishi Sunak, whether Rishi Sunak should suspend those two candidates, I would say absolutely 100%. But I just feel like it's kind of history repeating itself, really. I'm old enough to remember the end of the last long-term Tory government, and it just seemed like it was a year or so of just stories about sleeze up until the end.
Yeah.
I can't really recall whether the Blair-Brown government ended in the same way, but I'm sure there was stuff going on. It just seems as soon as people get comfortable, they just
I'd just gently say Iraq there, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that's definitely, that wasn't great. Obviously, that was probably the stain on that whole time. But it just feels like a bit of a kind of, your feet get under the table, you feel quite comfortable, you feel like you can maybe do a few things that you probably don't think they're too bad. I mean, who's really harmed by placing dodgy bets on an election? But it's just not moral.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're right. Who ultimately loses? Answer: not really. No one really.
Bookmakers.
but what's to? I mean, placing a bet with odds of, say, I don't know what the odds were, but let's say it's 50-1. So you could make some good money if you had the money to spend in the first place. But bigger than that is you work in the Treasury, and a week before the budget's delivered, you know that there are going to be these tax changes, you know that there are going to be these, whatever, and you contact your mates in the city to go and start, using that information to finance whatever they're doing, and you get a kickback. You could make serious money, and that is completely illegal.
I think it just shows a lack of moral compass, really, and I think, like you've been saying, it's to do with just the public service. The aim of being in public service is to serve the public, not to serve yourself.
Absolutely.
I feel that the longer people get in that role, the more they start to think about themselves. And maybe it's just because they know that the end is nigh, and they feel like they're not going to be able to make it through this election, and they're just trying to do what they can. But it still just seems to be a pattern. And I would imagine if Labour get in and they have 3 terms in office, who knows? We might see the same happen again. Maybe we need to change the system so we don't have these ridiculously long governments. But ultimately, it's just same old for me.
Well, I think it does almost irreparable damage to a brand that has been completely shattered certainly in the last 5 years, doesn't it? It just, it's not endemic state-led corruption, but it adds to the sense of these people just don't care about you. They don't care about their public duty. They don't care about their responsibilities. They're just in it for themselves. That's very hard to shake. It's why people who value the fact that trust is hard-earned but quickly broken wouldn't go about doing this. Simon, thank you very much indeed. Nathan says this, Tom, I work for a professional football club. We're not talking about football on this show. It doesn't exist. I work for a professional football club and we're not allowed to place bets on any football matches, transfers, etc. Why should it be any different for politicians? It just smacks of a lack of integrity, is shameful, and is an indicator of the culture within and around number 10, says Nathan. Stephen's in Lincoln. Hi, Stephen.
Hi there, you okay?
I'm well, sir. Thoughts on this?
I think that the people should be struck off. They should be suspended. But I think there's a wider problem. I am a Rishi Sunak fan. I think he's one of the few decent politicians that we actually have. However, is he a leader? I don't think he is. And his own party actually didn't vote for him initially to lead the party. So that tells us something. So, but the point being is that he's showing very, very poor judgment. And whether that's the pressure of the office, the time of year, the election, I don't know. But with the D-Day commemorations, with this particular thing, which I think is outrageous, by the way, that these 2 candidates, even if it was done for a wheeze, if it was just done for a laugh, it would still be wrong. The person I actually feel very sorry for is the police officer, because he's not. Yes, he's a public servant in the sense of he's a police officer. However, he probably heard something. He probably didn't think there's that much.
As you say, Stephen, he's a police officer and he has been arrested, so we've got to be a bit careful.
Yes, I get that, but why is it that he has the full force of the law thrown at him, and these people who have had these allegations made are allowed to carry on as though nothing has happened? It's just so wrong, and I think Rishi Sunak has shown incredible poor judgment on a couple of occasions now.
Do you feel sorry for Rishi Sunak in any way?
No. I think he's been very, very badly advised. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not, I would almost think that there's someone in Downing Street who doesn't want him to win the election.
It is getting to that stage, isn't it? It's like they're
farcical.
trying to.
It's almost farcical, and as I say, I think he's a very decent man in himself. I don't think he's corrupt. I don't think he's a liar. I don't think any of those things. But I just think he's been very poorly advised.
I can just imagine the one bloke or woman in Downing Street just tittering to themselves this Thursday afternoon, thinking, you know what, I really stitched him up when I told him he was okay to leave the D-Day thing. I really got him there. Oh, do you remember when I said, I feel really sorry you grew up without Sky TV? Oh, you poor person. Can't believe that. That's terrible. You did without... Of course he can have a bet on it. Of course.